Welcome, and thank you for participating in this important training module covering unlawful harassment, discrimination, and sexual misconduct. Please make sure that you review and complete the entire program so that our records will reflect that you have completed your training. The university has made some changes to the content and cycle of required training for new and existing employees. New employees will take 3 training modules: discrimination, harassment, and sexual misconduct, privacy and information security, and a module that deals with the privacy of student records under the federal law known as FERPA. After you start, every 2 years, you'll take 2 modules. If you deal with student records, you will take the FERPA training as well. Those employees who deal with student records are typically those who have access to Cardinal Station. This module covers 2 important topics: preventing harassment and discrimination, and preventing sexual misconduct, including the application of a federal law known as Title IX. As an indication of how seriously the university takes these topics, President Kilpatrick requested that we include this message from him. As President Kilpatrick notes, the type of misconduct covered today is incompatible with our mission and Catholic teachings. In addition, he wants to make sure you are aware of the resources available to you if you are the subject of unlawful conduct. Discrimination and harassment of individuals on the basis of protected categories is prohibited, both by federal law and our university policies. Please take a moment to review the list of protected categories. The university's policy covering anti-discrimination and anti-harassment is posted on our website. It includes important information on reporting misconduct and our process for investigating and adjudicating reports of misconduct. We do not permit discrimination in the workplace, and this covers the entire spectrum, from the application process to the end of employment. For example, a supervisor who hires, promotes, or benefits only those who are the same race or gender as the supervisor over those more qualified violates the law and our policies. Similarly, where employees of different genders engage in misconduct, but the only employees who are disciplined are of a gender different than the supervisor, this violates the law and our policies. Harassment can take many forms, and here are some examples, all involving direct action by one against another. Whether the conduct is unlawful depends on a number of factors. Is the behavior unwelcome? Is it based on a protected class, such as age, race, or sex? Finally, is the behavior severe or pervasive? Please keep in mind that you may violate the law where others overhear or observe unlawful behavior. This is known as hostile environment harassment. In addition, sometimes harassment occurs between people at different levels, such as a supervisor, employee, or a professor and student. It is a violation of our policy for any member of the faculty or staff to engage in a dating or sexual relationship, whether or not consented to, with a student or employee whom he or she instructs, evaluates, supervises, or advises, or over whom he or she is in a position to exercise authority in any way, now or in the foreseeable future. Here are some good examples of hostile environment harassment. If you overhear fellow employees sharing racist jokes every day, that creates a hostile environment. We also want to clarify that it's not always the impact on an employee that determines whether the law has been violated. For example, in this last example, a supervisor yells, berates, continuously treats employees in a protected class with disrespect. That creates a hostile environment harassment and is unlawful. However, a supervisor that merely holds an employee in a protected class accountable for their work, following our policies and rules, with the impact that the employee becomes uncomfortable or stressed, that does not create a hostile work environment. That's an important difference to remember. What does the law consider severe or pervasive? An offhand comment, simple teasing, or an isolated incident may be objectionable, but this is generally not considered severe or pervasive. Obviously, this is not a pass for someone to say something that is sexist or racist and claim that they only did it one time. We have higher standards here at Catholic University, and we discourage even isolated incidents and can impose discipline in such cases. At Catholic University, we value the extent to which our university brings together faculty, staff, and students with different backgrounds and different life experiences. Those differences sometimes mean that another person may interpret something differently than you would. What is funny to one person may not be to another, who may find it offensive. So just be aware of this as you interact with others on campus. In the same vein, everybody has personal preferences. Be careful about personal preferences that may influence your judgments about others. Don't make assumptions about others based on their backgrounds, age, race, or sex. Always be professional, always use good judgment. If you are the subject of behavior that is discriminatory or harassing, you can report to any of the resources listed on this slide. Now, there could be some instances where you may be able to stop the behavior by a discussion with the person who's engaged in the offending behavior, and here are some examples. You should only use this approach if you are comfortable doing so. For example, if the person engaged in the behavior is your supervisor, you may prefer not to raise it with them. And then you can report the conduct instead to HR, the Office of General Counsel, or compliance. Likewise, if you have concerns for your safety or possible retaliation, if you tell the other person to stop, the suggestion to raise the behavior with that person is obviously not the best course. A federal law known as Title IX and our own policies prohibit sexual misconduct by faculty, staff, and students. This includes sex discrimination, sexual harassment, dating and domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. As I mentioned before, consensual relationships between supervisors and subordinates and faculty and students are prohibited by the university. Sexual harassment takes many forms. Quid pro quo is the conditioning of a benefit on an individual's participation in unwelcome sexual conduct. For example, a supervisor who tells an employee, "If you have sex with me, you'll get a promotion." Unwanted physical contact. Inappropriate or unwelcome conduct. For example, comments about a person's body and appearance. A supervisor who repeatedly asks a staff member to go on a date after she says no. Asking a person about their dating life. Verbal slurs, derogatory comments, or insults that are based on sex. And displaying or circulating certain materials. For example, displaying porn on your laptop or computer when it's visible to others. If you are the subject of sexual misconduct, you should report it. You can report it to DPS, the Title IX coordinator, or the Dean of Students. And you can also report it to the Metropolitan Police Department. If you wish to pursue a formal process against the offender, you should file a formal complaint with the Title IX coordinator. Your report will be treated as a private matter, and information will only be shared with others on a need-to-know basis. If you want the matter investigated, it will be done so promptly and thoroughly. Our internal procedures to determine responsibility are designed to be fair to all parties by providing notice of the allegations, a fair investigation, and a chance to be heard and to present evidence and witnesses. Offenders are subject to university sanctions, including termination, suspension, probation, and other sanctions as appropriate. We have a policy that prohibits an individual from retaliating against another who has reported sexual misconduct. An individual engaged in retaliation will be disciplined by the university, up to and including termination. All of us are responsible for creating a culture that helps prevent sexual misconduct from occurring. And it starts with each of us being aware of the rules and how our own conduct could constitute sexual misconduct. It also means being knowledgeable about the support services that we offer to students who are subject to sexual misconduct. Title IX regulations require the university to respond promptly when it learns of potential sex-based discrimination. How do we make sure the university gets information about potential sex-based discrimination so that action can be taken? We use mandatory reporters. These are individuals identified as having specific responsibility for reporting any behavior that has the potential to be sex, discrimination, or unlawful behavior under Title IX. Some of you may be mandatory reporters. Full-time faculty, officials with significant responsibility for student and campus activities, all coaches and trainers, professional staff in student affairs, and others. To determine whether you are a mandatory reporter, please check our website for a list. Your main responsibility is that if you become aware of potential sexual misconduct, you are required to report it to the Title IX coordinator or the Dean of Students or DPS. Now, this is whether you hear it from someone who experienced the conduct directly or you learn about it from another source. Report the conduct or the allegations of conduct that could constitute sexual misconduct, even if you are not certain it in fact occurred. And if you're not sure whether it meets the definitions in Title IX or our sexual offenses policy, seek guidance. You don't have to decide where it fits or if it is an actual violation. We have options for students and employees who report sexual misconduct but want complete confidentiality. Individuals who want complete confidentiality can discuss their situation with any of the following: a counselor at the counselor center, a licensed medical professional, such as a doctor or nurse practitioner at the Student Health Services, a member of the clergy when acting in his pastoral capacity, and an off-campus licensed rape counselor, such as at the DC Rape Crisis Center. In cases of alleged sexual misconduct relating to students, the university offers a variety of support services, and these are available to both the complainant and the respondent. These are designed to restore or preserve equal access to the university's education program or activity without unreasonably burdening the other party. We can issue a no contact order if the alleged perpetrator is a Catholic university student. The university can issue this order that prohibits interaction between the two students. DPS can also help obtain a civil protection order from the DC police. This is similar to a no contact order, but it's useful if the alleged perpetrator is not a Catholic university student or if the victim lives off campus. The Dean of Students can also help with residential changes by evaluating space on campus and discussing options with the students. Dean of Students can also provide academic assistance. And of course, we have our counseling center and campus ministry available to students in all situations. If you are a person who is involved with student organizations or athletic teams, including as a coach or advisor, you must comply with federal law and our policy that prohibit hazing. Hazing is any act against a person that causes a risk of physical or psychological injury relating to initiation or membership on a team or student organization. We expect all coaches and employees who work with student organizations to inform students that hazing is prohibited and to prevent hazing of any kind. And any coach or employee who is aware of hazing and fails to take action or is complicit in student hazing will be disciplined, which may include termination. If you ever suspect a law or policy is not being followed on any topic, whether the topics we are discussing today are the issue, or it's an issue of public safety, conflicts of interest, fraud, financial matters, you can contact the Director of Compliance. We also have a hotline you can use if you want to report anonymously. If you don't suspect wrongdoing and you just need guidance or you have questions about a law or university policies, you can, of course, use the same resources. By completing today's module, you are certifying that you will read and you will abide by the university's Code of Conduct for staff and faculty, and that you agree to familiarize yourself and comply with the university's policies that are set forth on our website. This concludes our training today on harassment, discrimination, and sexual misconduct. Thank you for your time and your attention and for taking this training. I hope it's useful to you. And if you ever have any questions about what we've talked about today, please contact the Director of Compliance.